The Republican Party earlier released a memo outlining a potential bias on the part of the FBI and the Department of Justice in their Trump-Russia probe. The document faced criticism from the Democrats, but Republicans now say their investigation will proceed to encompass even more branches of the government.
Yeah, so let me get to that. So phase one of our investigation was just getting at the FISA abuse. What we're looking at now is the State Department and some of the irregularities there.
And some of the most vocal critics of the memo have been the Washington Post and the New York Times. Their journalism has become the subject of a new film, but as artist Samira Khan explains, journalistic values can change over time.
The Washington Post and the New York Times once established themselves as shining beacons of true journalism. A brave group of reporters who would stop at nothing to find out as much as they can in their quest for truth. But I'm actually talking about the 70s. Back then, New York Times and Post journalists risked jail time by publishing classified documents on the Vietnam War.
The New York Times begins its explosive series based on the Pentagon Papers.
Publication of a covert version of the war that ran counter to much of the optimistic talk that had permeated official statements for years.
Now Daniel Ellsberg leaks the documents to the Washington Post.
You want to learn more? Go to the movies and check out the Oscar-nominated film The Post. Seems like the perfect rebuttal to Trump's attacks on the media, and according to the creators, that was actually the intention.
One thing that both of these eras have in common that really attracted me also to tell this story is two presidents declaring war on the news media. I really feel that we shall overcome what all of us have been subjected to over the past 16 months.
Well, Spielberg's political message is pretty difficult to miss even in the trailer.
If you publish, we'll be at the Supreme Court next week. If we don't publish, we will lose. The country will lose. What are you going to do, Mrs. Graham?
Okay, and what are those two newspapers up to these days? Well, they're not exactly true to the idea of exposing the intelligence community. The Washington Post was one of the loudest voices against the release of the Nunes memo. Why? Because this classified document, which alleges misconduct by intelligence services, quote, endangers national security. And WAPO published a number of articles predicting devastating consequences from the memo's release and slamming Donald Trump while they were at it. And media who were in favor of the memo's release got bashed as well.
The Clinton bought and paid for fake news Russian propaganda dossier that, of course, was used by the Obama administration to obtain FISA warrants to surveil members of the Trump campaign.
The New York Times, who exposed the Pentagon Papers back in the 70s, were also against it. So the CIA and FBI went from bad guys hiding their secrets from the public to a pillar of society, standing strong against the evil Trump.
The irony today, among many ironies, is how the mainstream media have forgotten their own history. The New York Times, the Washington Post, today, when it comes to Assange and others, call him the worst threat to our republic that we've ever seen. But just years ago, decades ago, the same behavior, now lauded in these movies, seem to herald this particular type of behavior, thus showing again the unmitigated and unbelievable hypocrisy that astounds me daily.
So there you have it. The same outlet that has democracy dies in the dark as its slogan would prefer if secret intelligence actions never see the light of day. Samira Khan, RT, Washington, D.C.